And I think that the other option just feels a little bit better, that being Hoodwink. And, oh,
Hmm.
speaking of Hoodwink, Wildcard decided to pick it up here, which does make this Tiny look like Bobatich's hero. So they're probably going to be last picking Sunlight. Something I don't really like from Wildcard, though, just because there's already been so many offlane bans, Sunlight's really going to get pushed to the edge of the offlane hero pool. And well, speaking of Mr. Jean's Kunkka, there you go. And now I like their draft a whole lot more because now the Kunkka feels even more powerful. He's got somebody to connect with in the Mirana. They can constantly make plays very simply, as well as whoever ends up getting X comboed, they're going to be stunned for what, 10, 11 seconds? It is not fun at all. That is kind of the name of the game for NoRunes. They're just going to stun you over and over again.
Hmm. Gonna really put pressure on the BKB timings of Wildcard if they are just able to continuously throw those combos in your face. So that is something Wildcard are going to have to bear in mind here for whatever their last pick is going to be, which, as you said, is looking more and more like it's going to be Sunlight's hero. Someone who can be on the front line, because obviously with a carry Lena, you can't really afford to have her too far forward, but also won't just instantly be deleted by the combos from NoRunes.
Yeah, it's where sadly, Sunlight's not really going to get a great hero, or at least if he does, it's going to come way later. It just feels like there's been so many bans already laid at his feet that what is Sunlight actually going to play? Because I don't think Babatich is going to want to give up his Tiny, even though Tiny Hoodwink has been a lane in the past, and we've seen at least one offlane Tiny in this tournament where he just, it's the last hero where it's unideal, but you just got to do it because you need an initiator. And that's kind of what we have here. I think maybe Centaur ends up squeaking through, but even Centaur doesn't feel great versus Kunkka because, of course, he grabs you, it persists, it stays there. It's where even the Tidehunter, even though the hero works, and they do want somebody that naturally builds Greaves, because, of course, there's a silencer in the game. They want
Mhm.
somebody who is going to be able to purge off that silence on themselves. I feel like even the Tidehunter has that same problem where it persists. Kunkka is able to come to your lane and kill you. I can honestly see them swinging for the Tide, but it still feels kind of wrong. I can also see NoRunes very easily just banning it out.
Mhm. I feel like the Tide might just be the best choice for them. You just laid out some of the downsides, but there's no pick left that doesn't have downsides, and Tides feel more manageable than anyone else's. NoRunes, though, slightly more concerned with the damage output coming from that position 3 hero, which, okay, fair enough. When the Tiny goes mid, we do often kind of see that be the case. He's big on initiation, not always big on damage, so
Mm.
that's kind of splitting the difference a little bit for Wildcard. You've got durability, you've got some lockdown, you've got more damage than the Tidehunter probably would have thrown in there, but still a lot of concerns with that Doom pick.
And now the question is, does Mini just pick TB here?
Hmm.
Because I feel like Mini probably just wants that type of carry. I think you see the Doom in front of you when Doom is not the strongest laner, propped up maybe a little bit by the Hoodwink here, but you can really get away with quite a few heroes at this point. But you just need something to also fight into the Lena matchup. I think TB kind of fits every bill right now, as well as just being an annoying illusion hero who's going to be able to farm without actually showing on the map, which Doom hates because Doom wants to kill the hero farming on the map. But that's, I think, where no runes are thinking right now. Where and what are we going to pick for Mini? Honestly, I've seen in positions like this for no runes where they've also picked Wraith King in situations like this where they're like,
Hmm.
okay, there's one big spell from the Doom. If we have a carry that can eat the one big spell, then that's whatever. Even though I kind of hate Wraith King, even though Mini has loved Wraith King pretty much his entire career, I still think TB is probably your easy answer. Naga is probably not an answer, even though seen it before, seen it kind of after the Lean has already been banned out though, because you really just need anything that's going to win the matchup. There is also Nature's Prophet too, if they really wanted something to just kind of keep that game, to keep that steamroll going. But I don't really like Nature's here. But they really are thinking hard here for no reason. This is where all of their reserve time is pretty much going.
Hmm. And they're trying to, I think at this point, get that balancing act. As you mentioned with the Nature's Prophet, it is there, but it doesn't scale as well as if this goes late. Do we think we could win in 25 to 30, or do we want to plan for something a little bit later? Because that's where the TB comes back into play. And that was an option that honestly, well, actually, we probably should have seen coming. It's Mini's, I think, most played carry over the last month or so. They certainly picked it up quite a bit in previous runs here, but it's not really the late game kind of option that the TB was. I suppose maybe it can come online a little bit faster, but that does mean that NoRunes' timing window shifts here.
Yeah, and I think if we're talking about initiating carries, if the main ones being
Hmm.
Sven, CK, Wraith King, Sven is probably going to feel the best versus the Lena. Of course, if you catch her off guard early, you give her a few swipes of your sword, and then even if she pops BKB, she's probably too low to continue in the team fight. And that's something that Mini can help the rest of his team out with, because of course, Mr. Jeans has kind of a slow initiation. Heiko will have a fast initiation, but only every 2 minutes. So this kind of splits the difference for that all-around skirmishy fighting hero that the Blink Dagger Sven will kind of fulfill for NoRunes. So again, they draft for themselves more so than what their opponents actually put down here. They decide to go in their own direction, cover some of their draft's issues, and I think that's why they really go for the Sven.
Hmm. And of course, with the Sven pickup, I mean, you don't really have a vulnerability among your core trios, right? Sven, Kunkka, and Mag are all going to be relatively durable. Maybe the Magnus as the offlaner is slightly lower on the scale there, but since he's the offlaner ET, he's probably going to be picking up a lot of that utility, a lot of the extra durability, probably just full-on Greaves build out from Heiko here, so it's going to be tough identifying someone who's not a support that you can quickly pick off.
Yeah, it's where the easy one is definitely just bowling New Aegis, because of course Jupiter is very hard to kill. This is a crazy smoke break, but here we go. There's the Stormhammer, there's the arrow, a lot of damage. Bobatich doesn't have Avalanche because you don't get it, but look at the LSA.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness.
And if it had just been a second earlier on that kill, that could have swung the other way. Oh, Heiko. That's a nice little shockwave in there, but Mini... Now he'll throw out a stun, but now it feels like it might be too late, and now it feels like it might be an overextension. Mini's getting hit up, slowed down, taken out. Sunlight will not die to the DOT, and if you weren't going to get it on the shockwave, you weren't going to get it at all.
Yeah, if the Stormhammer is maybe 1 second less on cooldown, you get him on the pull of that shockwave, then I could see it swinging back into NoRunes, but then he just lays out too far. At least Mini dies. And I know that's maybe a funny thing to say, but you're already 2 Stormhammers in. You would
Right.
barely have enough mana for another one in the lane you walk to, so dying and getting your mana back is honestly not the worst for the Sven.
Yeah. And this is well before the creep waves were in position even, so...
We ride to battle.
All in all,
Come, Sagan.
it's a nice efficiency play. Your team were
battle.
already able to get first blood, so even losing 2 afterwards, it still kind of ends up being even for you. So, not too much lost here. The downside of this, you just talked about Mini using mana. Look at Nuagas. I mean, he came to lane with Mangoes. He's got 7 stick charges, but he used 2... I think it was only 2, not 3, but 2 curses. He is still going to go to work here. Curse on to flee, and... yeah, the Hoodwink is not going to have the most fun in this lane, because you are going to be constantly taking this chip damage.
Yeah, it's an annoying hero. It's obnoxious, but that's where if Flea is constantly trading with New Aegis, then all that pressure on Sunlight kind of evaporates, where Sunlight is just going to be looking to farm. He's just going to be looking for those early levels. He's already got the Wraith band, so he's just looking to get his Midas as soon as possible and then turn into that farmer, that hard farmer we all know Doom to be.
There's going to be more bullying onto Flea. Stormhammer connects, Curse hits. Although at this point, Sunlight's the one who ate a lot of damage. The Curse, as well as the fact that he kind of walked through half a creep wave there for really no reason, so it's a bit of a bummer for him, but he's got the tangos, should be able to heal up just fine.
Yeah, he isn't under too much pressure.
Well, meanwhile, in the middle lane, Mr. Jeans trying to play aggressively. Maybe a slight benefit here to laning against the Tiny. Relatively big target, not the fastest, so he is able to try and keep the angle on him for both the Tide as well as the Torrent. Of course, Bobatich has the health where, realistically speaking, it shouldn't bring him down, but well, Jupiter does get brought down in the top lane. Samson's able to get in there with the battery assault, cog trap play, and even at early sort of levels like this, Arc just keeps on hacking away and they get the kill.
Yeah, no. Simple affair for Samson. Just has the win lace. They also know that this is the only time they can really press for that kill because Jupiter's level 1, doesn't have leap. Once he has leap, well, that play becomes pretty much impossible for you. So they got their one freebie.
Arrow thrown. Not in a position where Heiko can follow it up, but hey. You know, it helps out the accuracy stats for Jupiter, if nothing else, but yeah, now he's level 2, leaps up, should not be caught again. He gets clipped by an LSA there, but starting now, he should not get caught again.
Yeah, they were trying not to drag the creep wave into the tower because now it's just going to push back into the Lina, but they've still got it about where they want. Samson's small camp is closed, though, so he's not going to be able to actually get any small camp pulls going. So once this lane is out of control, then NoRunes really have it right where they want it, and they can keep it where they want it.
For Heiko, yeah, okay. Not going to get too greedy. No points in the Empower just yet. Really no reason to be doing that as a core, so just wants to stay focused here. The downside of this duo is getting any sort of skewer play gets kind of awkward, right? You would assume the Run is throwing the arrow from close to long distance to try and maximize the stun, and then well, Heiko's not going to play that for forward because he wants to farm, but if they do get the combo ET, you know, these aren't tanky heroes, right? The Lina's not exactly the most durable in the world, although with the Falcon Blade, she's certainly stronger than you would expect, but kill potential's kind of iffy. Might just be looking to farm. Jupiter just looking to grab some runes and stay out of the battery assault radius. He's not doing a great job of that at the moment, though. Getting hit up, taking a lot of damage, but he's trying to bait out the cogs at this point. Don't think Samson's going to commit it.
Yeah, he's looking for some terrain to leap over as well, just so he's committing really the least amount he can. But bottom, yeah, a little bit too much damage, and that is the Chain Lightning coming out. At least Noages gets the trade onto Flea, but it's that Chain Lightning damage, and actually, okay, someone's got the kill here. Noages is certainly dead.
There it is, okay. Now he's got to be careful about this, though. Getting out from under the tower, shots connecting, Stormhammer still in range, and yeah. Maybe the no August kill wasn't quite worth it considering you go down after, but didn't know that at the time, and realistically, I don't think Sunlight's going to miss out on too much. Mini should be able to clear one wave uncontested, but not much more than that.
Yeah, he was trying to die before he was going to give XP over to this Fen, because Mini now has a solo kill, is level 5, which is mildly unfortunate, but it could be worse, and this really won't move too much, aside from maybe putting Mini in a state where he can jungle a little bit easier. But, okay, there's the skewer. Just that easy.
Yeah, rule 1 of trying to play clock against Mag. Cogs don't really do you any good. Heiko just skewers out of it, and they find that kill pretty easily. And now Arc, you gotta be careful. If an arrow connects, he's in trouble, but he's trying to play the angle. There's the pullback from the shockwave, and the arrow does not hit. If that does connect, I think they get a kill, but a little off the mark.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to hit on the Lina. Of course, she's fast, she's constantly moving in the lane, she's constantly right-clicking you as well, so it's a little bit more difficult. Good positioning from Arc, though, as well, using the cart to effectively body block the arrow.
And Samson, in the meantime, is kind of hanging out in between lanes here. Drops down a sentry to try and prevent any sort of stacking of the Ancients, and will make his way back towards the top lane. While he does so, however, his fellow support down bot is getting beat up a little bit. Flea continues to be bullied. Kind of anticipated that this would happen, but still just rough. Taking all that DOT, not really able to have the impact that he wants, but as long as Sunlight's farming, Flea's not going to care about having to sort of take trips back like this.
Nope, not at all. And of course, once he hits level 6, then maybe there's a little bit of kill potential, but Mini has no interest in just farming the lane. He's gotten to that point in Sven where he wants to farm the jungle, he wants to stack the jungle, he wants to start hitting every camp.
And well, then we go back to the little rotation Samson made. Wasn't able to really do much in terms of a gank, but Here comes the stack attempt, and Jupiter's quickly going to realize it only worked on one. I didn't actually watch the pull itself, so I don't know if Jupiter suspects that there's a ward there or if he maybe just thinks he missed the timing. But he didn't drop the sentry.
Yeah, which means no stacks, at least for now. But he is sitting mid. He's trying to make a play here. As they do catch Mini, or they catch Flea walking into the jungle, trying to get, again, more vision on the Sven farming. But he was already God Strength. He was already making his way on those camps. But still, kind of getting that waiting game going here. Yeah, no, Jupiter's going to stack and going to find out that it's only large. Look at this,
Meantime,
though.
yeah. Skewer into the RP. Tower shots are hitting the creep, unfortunately, but Shockwave's up in 2, and he should be able to finish the job there. Yep. Decent attempt from Samson, trying to get as much of that salve as possible, but it's not enough. But now in the river, Babatich, is he caught here? X, Torrent, Ghost Ship, Arrow, the whole 9 yards, and they will find the kill.
Yep, just forced to sit there. Just can't do a lot, even though you're very tanky. But until we get maybe the clockwork hook shot, there's just no real easy interrupt play. And even that is probably Samson just throwing his life away at that point. But the lanes are still going extremely well for NoRunes. 2K at 8 minutes. They've just pulled ahead everywhere.
Mm-hmm. They are looking and feeling good at the moment as Mini and Nuagas are trying to make a play on a Sunlight again. Not quite able to get the damage in with Babatich rotating over. Avatos onto Nuagas himself. Did not actually get a toss back, but it's not going to matter. Hammer comes out a little too late, so Silencer will fall. Samson's rotated here as well. They would love to try and go for Mini, but diving a tower, even with the numbers advantage, feels like a little bit too much of a risk, so they back away. So does Mini, however. Gets into the jungle. Mask of Madness is complete, so he's just going to start farming away. And well, now the rotation or semi-rotation that they made feels a little bit worse. All those heroes kind of started making their way bot, and they only get a kill on Silencer. They don't get any pressure on the tower. Babatich runs into Mini here. Runs into him, but doesn't really do much with it. So it's just feeling like you're starting to waste a little bit of time.
Now look at that. He just dances out of bottom. TP down. Looks like he was just going to get picked off by Babatich, but instead they just end up taking or doing a lot of damage here on the tier 1 tower. Unfortunately, though, this is without a cart. This is maybe a half step too early, meaning they'll just take a good bit of more time. Time that you would love to get Babatich closer to his Blink Dagger, looking for an open lane, but he's given his lane over to Flea, who is using it to get his level 6, mainly because the Clockwork is going to have to use that tome to get his hook shot up, but it feels like Wildcard are already having to make moves they don't necessarily want to because they're in recovery mode a little bit with how that laning stage went.
Mm-hmm.
He got that Centaur.
Okay, yeah, he nailed that Centaur. Just dead to rights. Ark says, I am not letting the Kunkka have any of my last hits. Fair enough. But now, you know, Laguna's down, so they don't have to worry about it. And Heiko, he's going to move in. Skewer into RP, onto Flea, takes him down immediately. So Babatich, you're in, but you're in by yourself. And now here comes the combo. X into Ghost Ship, into Torrent. Samson's TPing in. Arrow immediately locks him down, though. And then the global on top of it even, just to make sure. There was no funny business, no defensive effort whatsoever. And no runes. Boy, AT, I mean, we said they were looking confident at the end of Game 1. Here in Game 2, they are just arching their way forward.
Nope, they're playing real well. 11-minute Blink Dagger on Heiko. He is getting to exit his lane with the utmost satisfaction. Really, all of these little items are just getting built up. Mini's really the slowest one right now. But even him, he's just waiting for recoveries, even though, sadly, his Ancients are still blocked. But both Mr. Jeans and Heiko are getting those early game items. Blinked on the Magnus, BKB is one component away on the Kunkka, and then we're back to that game plan of do Wildcard have enough physical damage to actually make the plays happen whenever those BKBs come through? Well, we'll have to see. In addition to that, Sunlight, he's got Midas. He's working on his BKB now, but without an initiation without those little plays happening. I mean, we're still even waiting for hook shot right now. This might be a nice toss back, but ooh, nice. Gun for it. Hook under tower.
Okay. Keeping him there for now, but the arrow hit onto Bobatich. The damage is stopped. There's going to be the defensive ghost ship, and now the Starstorm in from Jupiter is going to help them clean this up. Nice sharpshooter, though, from Flea. Still able to snipe it out in the end, and that saves the entire play. All of that is great. That's a 1-for-1 core for support. Wildcard walk away.
Yep, making something out of nothing. Because Heiko, his courier died during that last dive, so it's not like he wants to come over. But there is a smoke looming here from NoRunes. He's got his Blink Dagger in the base. He has RP back up again. If there's ever going to be a moment for NoRunes to jump over in the mid lane and try to take at least a pot shot at that tower, it's going to be once Kunk is alive. And again, that Blink Dagger's in Heiko's back pocket.
Now they're still trying to control up mid as best as they can. Not letting Wildcard get any pressure. Echo Saber done. It's actually kind of funny. Mini has been farming everywhere else that he can, right? They've even got this camp stacked up, which is one we very rarely see a whole lot of attention paid to. Feels like it would have been less effort to get this D-ward earlier, just so you could have stacked up the Ancients, but they do eventually get it, and the stacks will come through over the next few minutes, but efficiency still playing large here for NoRunes, because even with Mini unable to play in the triangle, he's not behind, really. I mean, in comparison to his teammates, sure, his item progression looks not quite as impressive, but his net worth compared to the Wildcard cores is still pretty damn good.
Yeah, and really, if we equate, let's say, the Doom's net worth to a more average core, sandwich him right between the Tiny and the Lena, and really, NoRunes are off to what should feel like more like a 3, 4, maybe even a 5k gold lead with how their net worths are actually looking, but it's the Doom effect. It's where Sunlight's cheating ever so slightly. He's also really greeded out, of course. With the skill build, he didn't have Doom until level 9. He's still just farming up. He's farming incredibly fast. But once he has this BKB, the game needs to change. That's where the play needs to kind of happen here to alleviate the pressure on the map. Because the one who's suffering is Bobatich. This is not your Blink Dagger timing that you necessarily want. He's trying to. He's existing on the corners of the map, but he's the core that's suffering the most on Wildcard.
Mm-hmm. Not really able to do a whole lot until he gets that blink. In the meantime, see NoRunes grouping up, looking to make something happen here onto Samson. That's gross. Just straight up arrow, ghost. I don't really know if they need a ghost ship, but it's on such a low cooldown comparatively. Might as well throw it out. You get the easy kill. How much damage can they do this tower, though? This is not the fastest push. Creepwave's kind of dying, but Mr. Jeans with the DD rune is certainly going to help and should allow them to clean this up.
Yeah, and there's no way that Mr. Jeans doesn't do this without the backup of his teammates, so really it's that tough. And Heiko,
wow.
Well, that's Blink reveal. Tried it onto Samson, but is just a little bit too far. But still results in that tower going down. Honestly, it feels like they're going to kind of hover around this area. They still have that high ground Ob Sentry. But I feel like they could go for, honestly, another smoke. After they push off the mid wave, they need to. It's really hard for them to do anything during the daytime just because of that extra vision, but it's about to be night.
Mr. Jeans is just clearing out the creep waves for now. But they're really waiting to see who comes, who's willing to commit to try and clear that wave out. But Bobatich is not going to fall for it. Pulls the creep wave basically into his jungle, and it's the smarter move, right? Didn't want to go stand out there in the middle, suspecting that there's still enemies nearby, and NoRunes will have to shift up their focus here. But with the God RP back online, they've really got all of their ults at this stage other than Moonlight. And with the blinks that they've got, with the range that they have, I don't think they need Moonlight to really force this. Because they're going to smoke as 4. No mini involved in this one, but if they get the initiation, they could find some easy kills. The problem is there's no one to initiate onto. They got to go all the way over to the west here, but by that point, Wildcard are already suspecting that something's going down, and Samson says, well, might as well check.
Yeah, and really, cheap work. Samson, like, just pops the smoke, gets the D ward. Mini does get a solo kill on Flea. You know, that's kind of unfortunate. I think that was him showing off his Blink Dagger for a second there. But you place all of this fantastic vision, and all 3 of your cores still get to farm. They might all be farming the same lane, but they are farming. They're still out. Nobody goes down. Oh,
Cancel the
Babatic
TP.
just barely saw him. Oh, and he's got help. He's got friends.
Oh, the X pullback is there in time for the arrow as well. Man, NoRunes. All the timing just comes out perfectly for them. And now with Babatic dead, this is a staggered lineup for Wildcard. You would love to now try and push in, and they are going to give it a go onto Nuagas, which is the easiest kill that they are going to get in this game, but it may come at a cost. Arc is going to get hit. The arrow does not connect, but he's still hit by the ghost ship, pulled back by the skewer, and the Nuagas kill is now irrelevant. It just doesn't do enough to move the scale, and at this stage, yeah, they got to get out of here. Sunlight has to pop his BKB to get away. Samson may still be in some trouble. He's trying to walk out of this, and for now, he's going to be fine. But Samson living while the Lina goes down is not the ideal scenario.
No, definitely not. And they're still hovering around this warded area. Jupiter didn't get the D ward, but Babatic getting some revenge maybe here. But oh, there's the skewer.
And he leaps out of the way of the sharpshooter. Oh, that's rough. Now Tidal Wave pulls Samson back, forces him to cog defensively. X into Arrow, into Torrent. It's going to keep him locked down, and between the Shockwave and the Stormhammer, they will finish the job. So Wildcard, it feels like they're throwing everything that they've got into these engagements to come close to 1 or 2 kills, whereas NoRunes are almost kind of casually dancing their way around a lot of what Wildcard are throwing at them.
No, they've been frustratingly clean with a lot of their engagements and a lot of their rotations, and they haven't had to use very much. Mr. Jeans is still sitting on his 9-second BKB. There hasn't been any forcing play from Heiko. He is just constantly rotating back up to the top lane, pushes it in, then joins his team. And look at this. Arc doesn't have his BKB. It's on the courier, but he's going to get stunned. All of it's going to land, and that's just the worst case scenario. Doesn't even want to pop it because he knows it doesn't matter. But they do many. They're in the mid lane. They're trying to get the picks.
They trade it out, and they're going to get Heiko as well. Or, uh-oh, maybe not. RP will connect. That sets up for the Starstorm, doing some damage. But they need more. Mr. Jeans TP's in. Can he do anything? Not in time. Heiko does go down. And that will work in Wildcard's favor. It's a damn shame for them that the Lina's already dead, but big kills going the other way.
Yep. They get the punish on NoRunes, who are definitely stretched out a little bit thin in that instance. You killed the 2 most farmed cores on their team. I mean, you can't ask really for more in that situation. Plus, you actually get to use Doom. I mean, that Sunlight's been burning on for the entire game up until that point. But they get to abuse that vision they placed earlier, which is really why that play actually gets to be made, which is something that they have to continue to maintain. Otherwise, they will just get kind of crunched in their base. I feel like Mini's going to want a little bit of revenge, though. He's got God Strength. He's got his 15 talent. Probably wants to get aggressive, but he's walking into Wildcard vision. Needs a new Aegis to get out of here with some of these sentries.
Well, August is going to get out of here, but in the wrong way. And Mini blinked into the Avalanche with no BKB active. Now he's going to be able to activate it. Pops the God Strength as well. Gets the kill, and he's looking for Sunlight. There's going to be the X. But the BKB out from the Doom himself should allow him to leave. And 1 for 1 on the support trades. Some BKBs used. But if you're Wildcard, I think you would say that that goes pretty well, right? BKB and God Strength on cooldown. That bought more time for your Doom to come back online as Arc. That one's going to hurt a little bit. BKB keeps him safe from the X, but now you've got some very disrupted timings between cores.
Yeah, just kind of gets bullied off that one. Just doesn't want to be forced to use that in that type of situation, but really bad positioning. That's all it comes kind of sums up to. Yeah. Blinking 1 on Heiko. Well, that's going to make it a lot easier.
Okay. Hook shot right in the face of the opposing side. Bought him an extra second of life, but yeah, they had him scouted out the whole way through. Heiko just acting as the living ward there. The good news if your wild card is Samson dying here is just almost inconsequential. He's the lowest net worth hero. He's buying time. He's getting vision, right? He's attracting the attention of 2 or 3 heroes at a time. So the rest of your core trio should be using this time to farm up themselves, although Bobatich is about to get caught. There's the skewer, pulling him back. They've got the silence, they've got the DOT, they've got the X now, and Bobatich really does continue to suffer.
Yeah, just the Tiny that doesn't have an Echo Saber, but also feels like he needs a BKB. But if he gets a BKB, then he's just going to get RP'd. It's like, it's a mess. And now NoRunes decide to take some of that lead. BKB finished up on Mini, so they feel absolutely confident enough to actually go into the pit. Even though there's a clockwork on the opposing team, and Samson looking like he's going to want to try to do a steal, but gotta be careful. Closer he gets to that pit, that second flare is where you got to look at the positioning. Here we go. Bart comes through. Roche dying. Hits on Mr. Jeans.
A little early. Good instinct, bad timing there. As Roche does go down, Mini is going to be able to claim the Aegis, and well, as you say, at that point, that's why it always feels a little weird. You were talking about the second flare. It does give away your position, or at least your bearing, where you're coming from. And if you were going to hook immediately after, because the flare shows Roche is low, at that point, maybe you just hook blind and don't give away the positioning at all.
Yeah, it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't situations for sure. And, you know, as we just talked about, he doesn't really care. He's got 10 deaths. He could afford to die more. He really could care less. He is just a stun into an LSA. And this is great. Looking for him top. Mini isn't being too swift about this. And there you go, though. Daytime, really difficult to smoke. Even the global, just to get him out, just to be sure. But they're tracing him. They're looking for him in the trees. There's no BKB. He will die twice if he gets caught.
They don't want to use the Doom, but there's going to be the RP coming in. Good play from Bobic. So comes in with the Avatos, still locks the hero down. And they get through the first life. They burn Heiko as well, so now they can set up exclusively onto the Sven, and there's a little bit of frustrations being sort of taken out on him with Laguna and Doom, but they found a little bit more. So I guess, yeah, when the cores go down, he really just needed to straight up bail, but he's not that fast. They pick up a third kill and a tower, so well, just when you thought Wildcard were maybe starting to get a little too far behind the 8 ball there, 3 kills, Aegis burned, tower taken, net worth deficit just about wiped out.
Close the gap. Fortunately, that there's no real objective for them to take with that team fight win. They just get the farm, but farm is good. Farm is time. Gets Arc to that point where Lena just becomes the monster where you cannot afford to mess up your initiation. It's where if you ever see Arc looking at items like Scotty or Satanic, anything that allows him to actually fight toe-to-toe with the Sven, you eventually win these. It's where Lena is the most broken hero in the game. She eventually does too much damage, and as we talk about usually with Tiny, if the Sven blinks in, he's in. There's no get out of jail free card. You need to only go forward at that point with the rest of your lineup. It's where heroes like Lena are that punishing.
Okay. They definitely got that illusion. Now they're going to look for more, but Lee is able to pop the scurry and get himself away from the... I think both the shockwave and the skewer there, so he's going to be just fine. Wild card. Buying time for themselves. How much longer on the Doom cooldown? 40 seconds, so still a little ways out, but Arc is getting close to Boots of Travel here, so we're already giving him a lot of time when he's got the bots to just maneuver around the map almost entirely freely. Well, things become a lot more concerning, but NoRunes, they are trying to make a move there. Mini did get the Stormhammer out, but doesn't actually make the connection in time.
No, yeah. Able to get away with a little bit more farm. Really, the only reason Bobatich plays so dangerously is because he is still trying to keep up with both the Lena and the Doom. But they're trying to get aggressive out here. It's nighttime. A little bit more difficult for Heiko to find just that easy blink RP, so you hover towards those high grounds. Wildcard have the high ground right now. They've got fantastic vision yet again here. They also have an easy way onto that bottom tier 2. They've got a much easier time kind of forcing the lanes right now, where NoRunes would have to have a pretty exceptional smoke if they wanted to catch their opponents off guard right now. One that I don't think they have. I think if it is coming, it's probably on somebody's courier, but in the meantime, we're just in that waiting game now. A waiting game that Wildcard loves.
They have a lot of the advantages as this game slows down. But within that same thought process now, if you're NoRunes, do you recognize that, and where do you go? What do they try to do? Roche kind of was their attempt at a forcing play, and obviously the fight that that followed it was a straight-up disaster. So now you're seeing maybe their own hesitancy to try and go in again, because last time it cost them their lead. This time it could put them seriously behind.
And okay, a little bit of a reset. Deciding to get back out of bottom. Smoke mid was a little bit weird, I think, from Wildcard. Lineup was already split, but they still keep their dominance over here. 3 wards placed in succession. They have a 3-pronged defense right now for any hero trying to sneak up on them. The only real way for NoRunes to find a way onto them on the bottom lane is probably just keeping to that tier 2 tower and then getting in position, but this is where they haven't even decided to bust down that door. Instead, they're just continuing to farm on Arc, having him sit the furthest back, really. And NoRunes haven't been able to find a pick anywhere else. But look mid. Arc, Samson would love the Lina, but they're going to have to take the clock. Even though Heiko, he jumped further. It looks like it's not going to work out.
Okay. Thought for a moment there that Samson was going to be able to just sort of sneak away, but they do double back. They'll finish him off, but that's not 5-man smoke worthy, right? That's not really the kind of territory you were looking for. And I do like that Heiko saw the Lina and tried, but at that point it's just too far away. They are now turning their attention top. At least a couple of them are on the NoRunes side, but Flea is already clearing out. Not going to give himself up as an easy target, and before we were talking about it being a little bit concerning or potentially dangerous to give Wildcard this much time. We are coming up on like 3, 4, 5 minutes of just free farming time, so it was concerning 3 minutes ago. Now it's a definite problem, and now they're going to start paying for it. There's the jump onto the Sven. Sunlight was able to pop the BKB, so he still dooms Mini, and Mini will fall. And now, I mean, they know there's no global. They can go in again. They spot Nuagas in the tree line trying to TP away, and they will clean him up. Arc gets both kills. And this is what you couldn't afford to let happen if you're NoRunes. You have walked directly into the timing that Wildcard were hoping to have. As Bobatich doesn't get locked down there, RP is canceled. Heiko at this point is trying to keep the chase going, and they are going to be able to hit him up. X, Ghost Ship, Arrow. Eventually they find the kill. Samson just tried to jump his way forward, but the tidal wave pulls him back, but Sunlight is in. There's going to be the lockdown, trying to get onto Jupiter first. He will fall, and he drops his gem. So you lose the Tiny. That's a bit of a bummer, but able to find a couple of kills, and now, ooh, Mr. Jeans, he thought he was safe just with the self-X, but he comes back to, oh god, the sunlight right in his face, has to BKB and walk away, and then Samson almost hits him with a hook shot that very well could have led into the kill, but instead, only the 1 or 2 picks, but you take down Mini, you take down a tower. They're feeling pretty good.
Yep, you get control, you get even more space to farm, you're getting Arc to those really scary stages of Lena, the Scotty is queued up. It's just getting too difficult for NoRunes to actually fight. We actually have to see NoRunes initiate. They have not actively been able to connect on anything aside from your casual clockwork kill every 2 minutes or so, which, you know, you'll take, but Samson has effectively been the bodyguard of the map for Wildcard, just enabling the cores to get way too much out of the lanes, and NoRunes have to find a big team fight. They are going to continue to fall behind. This game doesn't get very much easier. Not saying it's easy for Arc either. If he presents himself, he is just going to get blink RP'd pretty much every single time. There's a halberd up on the Kunkka. Kiting the Lina isn't really the problem. It's kind of dealing with everybody else at this stage. Wildcard have just built themselves up very nicely, especially Sunlight. And okay, they take a high ground, they get the waves out, but unless there are creeps hitting these tier 2s, Wildcard don't really care, and they're gonna chase you out of their jungle. They're coming for you.
Babatich tries to make the first play onto Jupiter. Not able to finish him off just yet, but the bigger fight breaks out to the north. They caught the Kunkka. Mr. Jeans is doomed up and finished off, so... Okay, cool. Jupiter gets to walk away, but Wildcard are more than okay with that. Mini was hiding in the tree line, but he's able to TP away. But at this point, I mean, NoRunes... It's almost starting to feel like any play will be better than doing nothing right now. And there's going to be a play. They get on to Flea. They find the kill. But now, Bobtich comes in. There's going to be the Avalanche. Laguna Bay deployed onto Noagus. Heiko tries to get in there for the RP, and it does hit. But at this point, it's too late to matter. The right clicks are in. Heiko himself will fall. Mini's able to blink out, but... Well... Yeah, now he's in trouble. And I immediately have to eat my words, ET, because no play definitely would have been better than that.
Yeah, they just push themselves out. Mr. Jeans is still respawning from top. They make that play knowing that it is going to be a 4v5, and sure, you kill the Hoodwink. Flea's dead, but they just had no way of knowing how close Arc was. And Arc is the one who really split that open. It's a great stun-in from Bobatich, but the follow-up LSA, the late BKBs, everything just ends up feeling so last minute. And NoRunes have basically given up the game to their opponents here. This is now going to be an Aegis on Arc, fully, almost a complete Scotty as well. He's going to slot up for his Falcon Blade. I mean, Lena is working. She's doing a lot of work. She is getting everything she wants out of the map. And unless NoRunes really want to initiate, which they haven't done in what feels like the past 10 minutes, this is just going to be Lena Carey winning the game pretty much outright. There's not much to say about it. Arc is just getting way too big.
Yeah, I mean, he's just unbelievably farmed at this point. Scotty is just about done, and... Oh, on the NoRunes side, no one is really at the point that Arc is at. No one's at the point Sunlight's at either, net worth-wise. But prior to that last fight, there was still this feeling that if they put all of their teamfight strength together, it could be enough. Could be enough to overwhelm their opponents. Now, I'm not even really sure that that's the case anymore. It's feeling like it's kind of the only option they have, but it may not be enough.
No, we're basically at that tipping point where NoRunes haven't lost to tier 3, have barely lost to tier 2 tower, but they're going to start getting hunted. And okay, they find the supports early, they find Samson yet again, but okay, RP on Arc, trying to get him as far away from his teammates as possible.
Oh, first life taken. How confident are they in a second? Bobatich, look at the interference he's running here, though, as the Global Silence will be deployed. Heiko comes in. There's going to be the skewer. Bobatich, though, he is lasting a decent amount of time at this point, but eventually he does go down. Did not activate his BKB at all in that, so... Oh, NoRunes finally get something to kind of go their way there. Aegis burned and a core kill for Silencer. You did have to pop a couple of bolts, I suppose, but it's exactly what they were hoping to do.
Yeah, it's good. It's time. It's a fight as well that was so deep that Sunlight did not feel comfortable jumping despite having the Ags. Just was too complicated. Wildcard also know that that's their easy way to throw. And NoRunes, they got rid of that buffer. Now Arc can die. He can get Blink RP'd, soloed, killed off by Mini. It just has to happen again.
Mini. Hoping somebody comes up here. Oh boy. Arc. Does he know how close he is to the enemy? Do they have detection on the NoRunes side? Because this would be massive if they could find it, but they need to find it now because the rest of Wildcard are looping in from behind. They're going to jump onto the Silencer here again, quickly take him down, take Noagus and Heiko out of the equation, but Arc was still a little bit away from his teammates, so they will finish him off, but the Doom has now been applied, so Mini is really not doing a whole lot of damage. Bushwhack is going to lock him down, but they're also not finishing him off. At least not yet, but there's Bobatich blinking in, going for the Avalanche into the toss play, and now Mini will die. And now this fight is realistically over. Mr. Jeans is in, but doesn't really do a lot of damage. He's going to try for this anyway, hoping to go for Samson, but Samson's able to pop the jetpack that gets him out of the tidal wave. It's always a weird interaction, but Samson's just sort of holding that jetpack for the initiation, and Mr. Jeans gets baited in.
Yeah, and It's where Wildcard, even though they lose their Lina, have a lot more damage, especially that the Doom can give, especially versus all of these strength cores. Infernal Blade just chunks you down. They just run out of damage. They just run out of really enough gas in the tank. It's also where without an AC or a little bit more control coming in from the Kunkka, they really are damage limited. Aiko can get as great an RP as he wants, but unless it's paired up with what feels like this Fen, it's just going to fall short. And maybe it gets a little bit easier for Minion to survive once he has this full Satanic. Even if he's doomed, at least if he's God Strength, he can still run around and right-click things, but it's still a little ways away.
And we'll see how quickly he can farm that once he respawns, but he's still about 10 seconds out. Wildcard. Well, they're looking for what they can here, trying to get onto Jupiter, not able to kill him, but this is the thing for Wildcard that needs to be addressed in the near future, I would say. Map control, high ground pressure, we're really not seeing a lot of that. I mean, they're up 20k now and haven't really been able to do too much. There's still 2 tier 2s standing, so I would love to be able to just get into their opponent's base, but it really has not gone that way for them yet.
No, and they've got great wards. They've got great exit lane wards. They'll see if NoRunes decide to start splitting out and pushing some of these lanes, but Wildcard also still have this problem, which is simply getting RP'd first, which is not how they ever want to start a fight. Him getting chain stunned is the reason why last fight even looked a little bit closer, but that's where Sunlight was still able to carry the fight for them. But they still have to be very careful. This game is far from over. It feels like we're already kind of looking for that third Roche before high ground is really breachable for either side.
Oh man, Mini. Alright. Very dangerous game that he just played there. Goes in for the creep wave, blinks out just as both Bobatich and Sunlight were blinking onto his previous location. And then the courier doesn't spot him either, so he's living dangerously. His TP was on cooldown that entire time, but he lives, cuts the wave, you know, buys time for his teammates, so NoRunes may not be in a great position overall, but they are trying to draw this out. The Satanic is now done, so I don't know, ET. Bit by bit, they're building up, but still a tense situation. Still need to see them just take a clean initiation in these fights. As Nuagas, yeah, that's not fantastic, but he does have money for buyback.
Yep, doesn't drop a gem either. You know, it could be worse, even though I think it occurs running it. But there you go. I know they mess up the skewer back because they both go. And okay, well, that's unfortunate.
Oh boy. That would have been a pretty quick and easy one if Lee had been caught, but as you say, they just kind of both go in at the same time, and oh well. Not too much loss there. They're still holding the high ground. Was that the Satanic? Yes, it was. So Satanic now finished off on Arc as well, so both carries have that Satanic sort of tucked away in their inventories. But if you're Arc, none of this solves the problem, right? You've been mentioning it repeatedly. If you get RP'd, you're still kind of screwed, so we'll see what he queues up next. I don't know. Does he really feel like going for something like an Aeon Disc? That doesn't really feel like something that you want to slot into your build. It's going to be Boots of Travel too. Okay. Doesn't really do him much good on the RP front, but why not? You're starting to run out of slots.
Yeah. It's not the worst. He could be looking for Gleipnir as well, but he's really just feeling like being with his team. Boots of Travel 2 is something we've seen a lot more of recently as Heiko, well, trying for your freebie here, and oh, no camp to spawn to. But look over there. Flea in a battle versus Noages, and Arc is going to make it a little less close.
That's interesting choice to pop your global there. He's only dead for 40, so would have come back up in a situation where he could have used it. Now once he respawns, they still gotta wait about a minute. Well, maybe he thought TPs were coming in a little bit faster, support was on its way. That was, unfortunately for him, not the case. Now, do they want to wait for the supports to be back up, BT? Samson's in 10. Mini's going to make the jump beforehand, though. Bobatich is getting stunned up, but second stun doesn't hit. He's able to activate his BKB, but now Sunlight wants into the fight. The Doom is going to be deployed. Sven, well, still not taking a whole lot of damage here. Sunlight alone can't really do the job. They do get the sharpshooter hit in, and now maybe Bobatich can reinitiate. It's Samson who does it. Gets in with the hook shot. Mini does go down. But Sunlight ends up dying as well, but now Samson gets a very nice cog trap onto 2. And that's going to allow them to clean up the fight, even with Arc somehow ending up inside of his teammates' cogs. They still get the damage. They still find the kills. And buyback statuses are in a very rough spot here. Mini doesn't have one. Heiko doesn't either. And, okay, desperation time. Mr. Jeans gets the rapier. He'll TP back to base. But if he goes down, well, the rapier really does spell the end of the game.
Yep, they're pushing in. Here we go. Arc gets his boots of travel too. They're not testing the tier 4s though. They are giving a little bit of respect, but is that just the dieback? That's just the dieback. And well, there is going to be a Mr. Jeans trying to clear these waves. They do see him, but you're not one-shotting anybody. You're not level 25, and they got him.
Samson.
Oh, okay.
Not a bad idea if his teammates knew he was doing it, but I'm not sure they had the heads up there because nobody reacted. But now they're going to back themselves away. Only a buyback from Jupiter being used there, but I think they also definitively spotted the rapier. So they're going to back themselves out. They got what they wanted, right? Samson does die, but you get the full middle lane of Rax, and they can reset.
Yeah, we still need to see Heiko get on the initiative with this Magnus. He can't go once the Doom has already been cast on the ground. It's where the Ags on the Doom is just so annoying. As long as he sticks there, he can't do anything. You're just going to get it disabled. So we need to see him find the initiative first, but they just keep on getting gone on by Wildcard. Wildcard just somehow get that leg up over their opponents time and time again, which is not what you want to see. Nobody's even scouted this third Roche, by the way. Both teams are still kind of waiting, maybe for their opportunity. Perhaps once Samson's alive, he'll flare it and they'll decide that it's time to go. But it is becoming time to go. But I really just want to see an RP from Heiko. It just feels like he's been so passive and forced to be passive because the aggression from Wildcard is just there in spades.
Wildcard are aware of Roshan respawning. The tree toss from Tiny got them the vision and the hit, so now they'll make their way over. And is there any chance NoRunes get here in time? They did just go for the 5-man smoke, but if they don't make a beeline for the pit right now, not sure they're going to reach it in time. Already down to half HP. They're wrapping around a little bit long here. They throw the vision down. They are going to see somebody, and that spooks Wildcard a little bit here. They do give up on the attempt for now. But I don't think NoRunes realized what they just did. They threw down the vision, that's great, but they didn't realize how many heroes were down there, and now it might be too late. There's going to be the Self-Doom coming out from Sunlight, pushing his way forward onto Heiko. And Heiko just has no way to get himself out of this. He is locked down and finished off. Sharpshooter, meanwhile, connects onto Jupiter. He's just going to try and leap himself to safety, but there's going to be the blink. Doom reapplied, and Sunlight finds 2 kills. Now they're looking for a third. Silencer in trouble. Hit by the Bushwhacks. Ghost Scepter kind of buys time, but not enough to actually live.
Yeah, at least he's up in 40 seconds despite having no buyback. He's still such a low level that it really isn't that long of a respawn, but Aegis is given over. I'm looking to see if it was a refresher or an Ags. Looks like it is a refresher sitting in Arc's inventory, so not the biggest in the world. I feel like Tiny would have loved to get a free Ags, but alas, doesn't get that available to him. But Wildcard are in. They're on the buildings. There's no Heiko. He's got buyback on Mag, but he's only going to use it if they're hitting tier 4s, because if he dies again, then the game is pretty much over. But it almost feels like NoRunes need the Fountain to kill Wildcard at this point. They need to get him in the Fountain, because they're just not enough damage. And, well, that's BKB. Forced out of Mr. Jeans. Afraid of getting chain stunned to death. And, oh, how do you approach when your Kunkka can't walk up now? I think they're probably going to be forced into at least getting up this tier 2 top, but feels like they can't even approach the racks. It feels like Megas are almost assured at this point.
And Wildcard do have to get through a tier 2 top in order to get those megas, but Arc is on the case, already starting to just push his way through. And if you're NoRunes, you can't really push out. You need this time to get your full lineup back up. Still, oh man, I do not want to see this game end without Heiko getting at least one last shot at an RP there, but if the Doom's there, he just can't do anything. There's no play to be made if he's in the radius.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
All the way back.
Big play. Can they finish the job? No, they can't. Arc activates the BKB. Sunlight self-dooms, pushes in. Global Silence is going to be used, though. They're trying to reset the fight, but Nuagas does give his life there. He's dead. 45 seconds down with no buyback. But they're going to try and go again. They get the skewer. They get the arrow this time, but there's that disc. Aeon Disc doing some work. Said before he really wouldn't want to go for it, but at a certain point, didn't have much of a choice, because if that combo caught him without it, could have been the Aegis taken out. As Mini, where are you going? Blinks his way past the front line. Doesn't really have a target to hit, and this fight is just so chaotic. Doesn't really feel like they have a plan, and they definitely don't with Mini just jumping in onto nothing. He's going to get taken down. There is a buyback. And at this point, they have to use it. They don't have a choice. There's the buyback coming through. Heiko. This is your moment. There's no Doom up. Can he get the Blink RP? Well, he gets the Blink part. He gets the Skewer part. The RP is going to follow, connecting onto 3. Can they kill any of these heroes off? The Tidal Wave pulls them all back into the fountain, ET, and hold on a second. They are starting to clean them up. Sunlight goes down. Aegis is going to bring Arc back up. He'll immediately look to TP home. And he does make it away. Samson will not, but you just kind of wish they could have made that play maybe 5 minutes ago. But hey, they're not dead yet.
I mean, the tidal wave is pretty crazy. That's pretty absurd, but these skewers from Heiko are also insane. It's incredible that he's able to just continuously land these. It's where you almost want a Blink Dagger on Samson, and I guess he just didn't want the leash talent at level 20. It just didn't feel like it'd be necessary, but that's a lot of initiative that Wildcard have just lost. Of course, kill Sven, win game. That's kind of where we're at right now, but the fountain is strong. The fountain's powerful. You wind up in there, Wildcard, you're going to start to burn a little bit. But this game, it's just getting interesting. I'm excited now. I feel like this game's going to get dragged out with that Aegis being claimed so early into its life. That was not your Aegis about to time out. Let's throw away our life into a push. That Aegis still had another 3-4 minutes on it. So there's not going to be that free, easy way onto the high ground for Wildcard until that 4th Rosh respawns.
And there's now a refresher up on the mag as well. So Heiko's going to have 2 RPs, the double skewer play. I don't know. I mean, they're still down 37k and they are dealing with mega creep, so it's not like this is a oh my god, a clear-cut path back in, but the fact that they aren't out of the game right now is more than we initially suspected, and it is a double Divine Rapier match for Mr. Jeans. He's all in. 2 Rapiers and a Daedalus.
Well, the game is just getting started, even though we've got 11 more minutes before we get those tier 5 items, so we're still playing that little bit of a waiting game, but you wonder for Wildcard, can they hit tier 4s? Is that too close to the base for Heiko to get you? Because hell, he made it look great before, he made it work before. Also, Heiko has a refresher, he's bought out, so you are gonna go for a trip if he catches you. He will bring you all the way in, he'll RP you in the fountain. It's where I think whenever that Aeon Disc on Arc is actually popped, we're probably stuck waiting until the Aeon Disc is back on cooldown, because otherwise you risk getting trapped in the fountain.
Very awkward spot here if you're Wildcard. Do you try to push again? You don't have Aegis, you used your cheese, it's all very risky. And at this point, I mentioned earlier, you know, they've still got that 38k lead. That does not matter anymore, right? We're getting to the point in the game where the gold becomes less and less relevant than your buyback statuses, and Wildcard have bodies to throw. They've got 4 buybacks, could be 5 if Sunlight can pick up just a little bit more gold here in the next couple of minutes. So maybe that's the play. Maybe you just throw bodies at the problem. But if you do that and lose, all your buybacks are down at the same time your opponents are coming back up. This, though, okay. Quick and easy play on to the silencer, but he's got his buyback. Buys back into the game. He's going to throw out the ult, but Mini is still in trouble. He's locked down. Can he get away? No, he can't. Dead for 2 minutes. But remember, who Rapier's up on Mr. Jeans? He's the one that they've got to be careful. And Heiko, okay. Able to just pull Samson in. He uses himself. That buys some time, but not enough. Still going to get taken down. Buys back immediately, though, looking to rejoin his teammates. While this was going down, they were trying to push onto the tier 4s, but they only got one. Nuagas in some trouble, but the RP connects. The problem is Heiko, he didn't have any sort of BKB play there, so he does get locked down, but he goes for the second RP. Gets the skewer, pulling back to Sunlight and Bobtich, both in the fountain. Sunlight will be going down. Bobtich was able to just get himself out as best as he can, and now the Ancient's been exposed. They could just go all in on the objective. Arc says, I don't care about the fight, I'm just hitting the building. And Wildcard avoid the disaster scenario, ET. They do get the win, but the fact that we were even talking about it being a possibility is a testament to NoRunes not giving up until the very end.
Yeah, no. Heiko keeps us guessing. He keeps us wondering, is he going to hit something big? Is he going to hit something big enough? But at the end of the day, it just doesn't have enough time. Doesn't have enough skewers. Ends up being too hard for him to pull it off. I mean, it was already going to be kind of a tough bill with Mini getting taken out early. But I think also NoRunes kind of getting caught up in their own game. And really, I think drafting this Sven is kind of the biggest choice that they made in their draft. The TB was available. The illusion heroes were available. They could have decided to go in a different direction, but they doubled down on their initiation on the hope that Mini can probably help out Heiko by going in first. And then we never really get to see that double initiation where Heiko goes on top of something, or Mini is baiting something out and, oh, he gets doomed, but Heiko's able to carry the rest of the team fight. It's where Mr. Jeans as well was unable to become that secondary carry, which would have helped Mini out immensely in this game. Because as soon as Mini got doomed, the team fight seems all but over. Because the damage just gets cut off at the knees. You don't have too much else with the rest of your lineup. And that's where I think Mr. Jeans going for damage at the end there, but going for BKB into the halberd, trying to answer the Lina, ended up putting his own game really behind the 8-ball. And Wildcard was Lina carry. They farm. They continue to farm. Sunlight would be highest net worth in the game with 40k now, 40k on Doom, just because of how Doom works. He would be incredibly farmed as well. It just feels like NoRunes didn't hit the timing exactly how they wanted to.
Yeah, it just feels like that was kind of the case in both games, right? The team that knew that they had a clear window weren't really able to hit it the way that they needed to, and the other team comes back. But at the end of all of that, that's another 1-1, ET. So in terms of the overall standings, everybody's kind of moving up today, but if everybody gets a point, then the whole thing's kind of a wash. But certainly better than getting that 0-2 in your face and really falling behind. So both NoRunes and Wildcard will walk away with 1 point, and we're going to move on to the next series here. We've got Thunder Awaken versus Ravens coming up next. So we are chugging right along here. Gonna get that third best of 2 coming your way in just a couple of minutes. So stick around, and we'll be back in a bit.